Hey, what's up, YouTube, and welcome back to a coffee shop chatter. I am Mr. Controversy. So today I'm gonna talk about this uh, cancel culture BS that we got going on in the U.S. So you have two incidents. You have one where a man says he's a woman, no type of surgery, and he's in a woman's locker. Then you had a 13-year-old boy pretty much being silenced by a school because he was running for a position based off of patriotism, and they didn't like his speech. So I'm gonna just go ahead and get into this, and I'm gonna stop every once in a while just to give my little feedback of what I think about the whole thing.
I was heading to the gym and I walk in the bathroom and I caught eyes with this man shaving. I noticed this girl sitting naked, wrapped in a towel, and she was frightened.
Well, I was offended. I took a picture of him.
I said to him,
"You're a man with a penis. Why are you in the women's locker room?"
and he said, "Well, I'm LGB. This is my space." I went to the parking lot. I did it like a 30-second video.
I realize he wants to be a woman. He gets to be a woman. I love him in Christ, but I'm not comfortable with him shaving in my bathroom.
The next day, a friend called and she said, "Patricia, your video went viral." It had more than 1 million views. And I get a call from Planet Fitness, and they said, "We have to cancel your membership. You took a picture of the girl in the restroom." I said, "Well, let me correct you. It's a man. Please remind me how he gets past the front desk to enter into that women's space." And she said, "All he has to do is self-identify as a woman." I have had tons of hate coming to me through social media. Some of the comments that I've received, I'm a bigot. Cancel culture is a sad thing, and it's not going to end if we don't have a voice to speak up.
Thank you so much for canceling my membership. You saved me the trip.
So far, this is just me personally. I don't see nothing wrong with what she did. Now, just imagine your daughter at the gym, and she just happened to come out the shower, because that's just how women do. They just walk around how they want to walk around. Nothing wrong with it because it's all women in there. But then there's a man in there, and he's allowed to go in there because he says, "Hey, I identify as a woman." Now, those of us who understand science and genealogy, we're smart enough to know there's two sexes. Either you're a man or you're a woman. There's no in between. There's no I'm a there or I'm a them or what are these other BS pronouns these people have come up with now all of a sudden. So now any man could say, "I'm a woman," and automatically that allows them to go into a woman's bathroom. What the hell is wrong with this country? But I'm going to go ahead and let her carry on.
Take me through this moment. You had not experienced this before, right?
I hadn't. I was on my way in, and I walk in the locker room, and I come in eye contact with this man with a full face of shaving cream, and I thought, walk past him and count to 10. I wanted to be calm, but I wanted to address what I felt was an issue. So I walked back out, and as I'm walking past him, I notice beyond me and behind him is a girl sitting in a towel, naked, apparently waiting for him to leave so she could get dressed. I mean, she looked frightened to me. So I walked on the other side of him and I said, "Hey." And he looked at me and I snapped a picture for public awareness because I wanted this man out of the locker room. I said, "Excuse me, you're a grown-ass man with a penis and you need to leave." And he said, "I'm LGB." I said, "I really don't care. This is uncomfortable and this is not a space that you should be in. You need to leave."
Yeah.
He wanted to argue, so I did not, and I walked out.
How do you feel the overall reaction has been?
Well, Dr. Phil, when I was aware that it had gone viral, um, you know, a lot of information started coming through the social media. You know how that works.
Oh, I know how that works.
Yeah. And so, how's it been for me, is your question. I think it's good now, and I'm going to tell you why. I think it's important that people stand up and speak out on what they think is good, right, and true.
Let me ask you some questions that I want people to ask themselves. Some people post things they shouldn't post. You agree with that, right?
Yeah.
I've often said I think there should be a breathalyzer on keyboards. That wasn't the case for you, but you posted this. What did you hope or think was going to happen when you invite strangers into the situation?
So I didn't think my intention.
That's an important
Yeah.
thought that you said, I
Yeah.
didn't think,
Well, I
I
didn't.
just posted.
What I did think was I need to bring public awareness for our community. It was about my community.
Right.
I mean, we're a small town, Alaska.
Yeah. But you
And
got comments from Florida. You got comments from
Europe and everywhere else. And I'm okay with that because now there's a bigger public awareness for the situation. Now let me make it clear for one thing. It's not about transgender, it's about policy. Because when I got the phone call from Planet Fitness that said, we have to cancel your membership, you know. And I said, no, I don't know. Why don't you explain to me why you're canceling my membership? And they said, well, you took a picture of a woman in the bathroom. I said, it wasn't a woman. I said, and by the way, I got best friends that are transgender, gay, you name it. I love people, but there's a boundary. And so I said, explain to me how this man got past your front desk to go into that restroom to start with. And they said, well, he just has to self-identify as a woman.
Are you serious? Is that's where we're at now. You can identify what you want to identify, and it will allows you access to go into a female's locker room, female's bathroom. I think this country is just full of sick people. This is the same agenda that they're trying to push on other countries. One being, I think it was South Africa, I believe is one. They Kamala actually went over there because some of those countries over there don't deal in that. So now you have this crap. Like I said, live your life the way you want to live your life. But I don't think this bull crap needs to be shoved down people's throat. That's the issue I have. You can't watch normal TV. You can't watch a TV program without some type of bull crap going on between whether it's man on man, man on man, or woman on woman, or you got some type of trans in there. Nothing is normal anymore. They feel they have to put it in everything. They put it in the schools, and that should not be the case. It's no different than people have issues when you know religion to get out of school. Well, not religion, but they took the Pledge of Allegiance out of school. So now you have this whole community who seem to have a choice where they can put their flags where the flag is now flown below the American flag. Like, what the fuck is going on for real? Men have been emasculated. If you actually act like a man's supposed to act, oh, you're toxic. So now you got a bunch of weak, simp ass men running around who afraid to stand up for themselves, who bow down to these women, bow down to their wives, do what their wives tell them to do because they're scared. Really, they just weak because they didn't have a strong man in the house that was there to help raise them. Their mother wore the pants and their daddy wore the dress. There it is. And then when you say something, oh, you're homophobe, look up the fucking word phobia and then come back and talk to me. Look up the word phobia, see what the definition is. Don't tweak it to make it feel make it work the way you want it to work. Look up the word phobia, read, understand, and comprehend what that definition is, and then you try to apply it to it. There's arachnophobia, a fear of spiders. People are literally afraid of spiders. They will fucking scream, run, whatever. No one, there's no gayophobia, there's no transphobia. Ain't nobody scared of them fucking people. We just say, hey, live your life the way you want to live it, but don't try to infringe your minds. I don't have to believe in your fucking unicorn shit that you got going on. I don't have to believe what you believe. You can dress up as a fucking pig, whatever you want to dress up as, or think that you are. You are biologically what you was born at. What's your DNA when you go in the ground? If they took your blood, it would just say male or female. That's it.
And I said, so you're telling me that every pervert on the street, no matter who they are, they can come in here and say, I'm a woman, well, that's our policy. And I said, okay. So when they called me the next day, they canceled me. And I was okay with that. I thanked them.
Well, let's look at some of the backlash that you got from this. Too bad she has to stick her big nose into someone else's business because she got her panties in a twist about something that had nothing to do with her. This world does not revolve around Patricia. Trans lives matter. Maybe go to a gym for bigots then. There is no room for you in decent society. You're a pervert for taking photos in a bathroom. If you take out the vitriol, you don't disagree with some of that, right?
I don't know which part I would agree with, but I'd have to read that a little bit slower.
Hello, Dr. Phil. I love America. I've dressed up as a president every Halloween since I was in kindergarten.
I'm Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States.
And I recently ran for the position of Commissioner of Patriotism and School Spirit. I wrote a speech regarding these two topics. I wanted my peers to understand the meaning of the Pledge of Allegiance and the national anthem. I wanted to enhance their patriotism. However, I was unable to say my speech.
Well, that good-looking, sharp young man was Jimmy, who was just 13 years old. He'd get my vote. He clearly loves this country, but he and his family were ultimately expelled from a private Catholic school when he tried to give a patriotic speech.
When I was writing my speech, I was speaking from the heart. I wanted to speak on how important patriotism was for me.
Wednesday afternoon, the first set of revisions from the principal were there. He had a whole section about why patriotism is so important to him. She highlighted the entire section, and this all needs to be removed. I advised Jimmy to reword it so it sounds a little nicer, and he resubmitted it.
Going up the stairs, she's like, these kids don't care about patriotism. I'm like, well, as Commissioner of Patriotism, that's my job, to teach them about patriotism.
All the kids were lined up on the stage except for Jimmy. I just see Jimmy mouthing the words, I'm not going to remove that. I told her that he made changes to the speech and that it wasn't offensive to anybody. I wasn't raising my voice. It was just clearly an upset parent. And I told her that because his views don't align with hers, that you're not allowing him to speak.
The speech was very important to me because it showed how patriotic I was. I felt sad, but not where like it really affected me until I saw that they were calling the cops on my dad.
I took him outside and I told him, hey, you're going to read your speech, and that's when I recorded it.
I want to be your next Commissioner of Patriotism and School Spirit.
And it just skyrocketed from there. Jimmy's going viral. Elon Musk just commented on it.
It seemed to be going back to normal community life at the school. And then one day when Hattie was reading me the email we got, it was us and our two daughters were no longer allowed to go to school anymore.
Jimmy's mom, Hattie, is also joining us. Thank you for being here as well.
Thank you.
So you were wanting to give a speech, and this had to do with a specific office in the school. What was it?
It was Commissioner of Patriotism and School Spirit.
So he running for, no, he said what his position was he was trying to run for. He wrote a speech on patriotism. One thing I'd say, I commend his father. We actually there need to be more men like him to show their sons not to back down when you know you're right. Because as there was a woman teacher who had an issue with his speech, and they're going to show they're going he's going to read it or they probably show it. But I can tell you, for me, I'm 53. Grew up in New York. In elementary school, we said the Pledge of Allegiance every day, which means everybody stood up. I had for Kevin, we had from German, Korean, Chinese in our class. We all stood up, put our hand over our heart. We said the Pledge of Allegiance. And unfortunately, my teacher at that time, Miss Helen, I still remember her to this day. She had a piano in her classroom, and we sang the national anthem every day. And we also had a class, like she gave a class on what it meant. And the problem is, patriotism has gone out the fucking window in this country. And you're like, oh, what you mean controversy? No, patriotism is still the same. No, it's not. Patriotism has gone out the fucking window. Look at everything that's transpiring right now. Look at the numbers for the military. That's dropped significantly, has dropped to the point where they're changing so many policies to let people in. To whereas they even bent over for the LGBTQ community. I was at now it's Fort Eisenhower, but it's Fort Gordon. We literally had a class in a chapel on the inception of the LGBTQ community coming into the military, or to where they can actually come out, even trans. Soldiers could then actually get the surgery if they wanted to. We had a major who was talking about how she was in the locker room changing. She was about to start her workout. Had got down to her undergarments, and she said, a guy walked in, and like she stopped and she just said, she's like, hey, I was just staring at him because she was like, you're in the wrong place. And he was like, proceeded to tell her no, he wasn't, but went back forth. She put her shit on and she left. And this is something that even in the military, they are forcing down their throat. Same thing with the jab, with Biden and Kamala Harris, where it was like, hey, if you don't take it, because they put pressure on the SecDef, soldiers got chaptered out, kicked out. A bunch of us was like, F you, I'm retiring. So a lot of people retired. Within the year, January of 23, they called every last one of us who retired, asking if we want to come back on active duty. Mainly a field grades, because a lot of us, if you was in a specialty area, they was trying to get us to come back. Soldiers who got kicked out, someone was given, it was at the discretion of that brigade commander of whether they got an honorable or dishonorable discharge or other than. I'm glad we had a good brigade commander who just gave them a regular honorable discharge. That way, if they pretty much how it got lifted, they can come back in if they wanted to.
All right. And that is a thing.
Yes, commissioners.
Okay, so you never got to give your campaign speech.
Yes.
So they stole the election from you.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. All right.
Does that ring a bell?
Yeah. I mean, I've heard that. I've just heard it talked about. So now, Dad, how did it feel to watch him not get to say his speech?
That was the hardest part for Hattie and I. We know how hard Jimmy worked. And then when he was up on stage, you know, we know he's a strong boy. And when he was up there, he was doing his best to keep smiling and standing proud. But we knew he was just a moment away from a complete breakdown. That was the hardest part for me, was to watch him up there.
And,
so close to a breakdown.
and they reviewed the speech ahead of time, right?
Yes.
What did they first tell you was offensive about your speech?
So first there was an overall comment that said, I have marked sections I want you to remove. Please review them and find ways to change them or remove them. So the first one was regarding patriotism. And she said, remember your audience is 4th through 7th graders who care more about pep rallies and spirit for their school and want to know more about that, which I feel, even though pep rallies and spirit, that's all the fun, I think that patriotism is way more important. And once you're out of school, it's not going to be about school spirit. It's going to be about America.
Okay. All right. So the comment was this entire section needs to be removed.
Yes, she made that highlight along with another highlight.
Okay. Well, why don't you read what it says?
Sadly, some people take their citizenship for granted, whether it is disrespecting the people who protect us or eating nachos during the national anthem at a sporting event. Many people recite the Pledge of Allegiance without understanding its meaning. If someone doesn't truly know what they are pledging to the United States of America, they might as well be reciting lyrics to Shake It Off by Taylor Swift. I want to fix this so everyone understands the meaning of the Pledge of Allegiance. As the Commissioner of Patriotism, I would have the crucial task of creating ways to bring more patriotism to SPS.
Well, we just can't have our children exposed to that kind of toxicity. I don't get it.
Exactly.
Me neither.
Coming up, our cancel culture advocate weighs in. Why Ernest says he feels sorry for Jimmy, but the reason isn't quite what you think. We'll be right back.
So now you're you about to hear from you seen him. He's a backdoorian. So we're gonna go ahead and let him talk.
After controversy surrounding his patriotic school speech, you weren't expelled immediately, and they threatened to have you removed from the school at the time, right?
I was voicing my opinion about what was going on, about them not letting Jimmy speak. And they told me if I didn't leave, that they'd call someone to make me leave.
Were you yelling and screaming and threatening anyone?
No, I didn't raise my voice, didn't say any profanity, threatening remarks. I just was an upset parent about what they were doing to my son.
Right. Hattie, were you there?
I was there, yes. And he was upset. He wasn't threatening or anything because I definitely probably would have started yelling at him to stop. But he removed himself from the situation and kind of went behind a gate that they have and didn't really see or hear of him again until the police came. And when they spoke with Ed and he just kind of let him know the situation, the officers looked at Ed and said, thank Jimmy for us. We appreciate him and what he has said.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. Now, Ernest, you had a take on this. What's your comment?
I think there's a lot going on here. I think for starters, Jimmy's a minor. This is less about him. I think it's about parents and schools. The issue that I'm seeing here is that there's a lot of things that's not said that we see. We see that red hat. We see that Trump type of font. We see a lot of rhetoric that does speak to MAGA. And in a school with diversity and inclusion, a lot of that just carries a different type of connotation that maybe or not Jimmy doesn't recognize because he's young, but his parents surely do. And I think that the fact that the school was trying to tone down the rhetoric, we're talking about a middle school, seat. Why is there so much political rhetoric around citizenship and all these other things? And let's be very clear. If this was a Black student at this school that was running for this seat.
There it goes. Pulling the fucking black card. As always, on time, every single time a black person talk about something because of what somebody else did is always, what if a black person did it? The same thing would happen what happened to him. If he was just talking about, if a black student said something that decided they want to talk about patriotism, the school would have did the same thing. But watch what he do.
and had Black Panther politics and wanted to say Black Lives Matter and talked about racial justice in a certain type of way. A lot of people, I would have bet, on the other end would have said, keep politics out of the classroom. Don't talk about that. That's divisive. Why we got to talk about race?
So I'm gonna just go and end that bullshit because I'll tell you, the only people that was clapping in that entire room was black. If you was to look off to the side in the very front, this lady right here, black. There's a gentleman sitting back here, and I'm gonna pull up so you may can see his hand, see their hand.
The school, I think, made a smart decision to say, let's keep the hyper-politicity and inclusion. A lot of that just carries a different type of connotation that maybe or not Jimmy doesn't recognize because he's young, but his parents surely do. And I think that the fact that the school was trying to tone down the rhetoric, we're talking about a middle school, seat. Why is there so much political rhetoric around citizenship and all these other things?
It's going to take too long to get to it. I'm not going to sit and waste your time. But you can tell by the sound, by the way people was clapping. That was only black people clapping. 2, you're running for a position for patriotism. Why the hell would you, as a black person, be in there talking about Black Lives Matter bullshit? Which is headed by who? His fucking community. The community he belongs to, that's who runs Black Lives Matter. Look it up. Funded by George Soros. Look it up. Why would you be in there talking about the Black Panthers? It has nothing to do with damn patriotism. Black Panther movement was something totally different. That was just, it was about equal rights. Them taking care of their community. This is dealing with school. And a lot of people don't understand what patriotism is, just like they don't understand what a man or woman is. And they decide to make up their own definitions for things. Honestly, I'm literally tired of all the bullshit in this country. Like, it is we need like a hard reset. I don't know what it's going to take. Maybe somebody needs to drop some bombs on us or something. Something needs to happen where we have a hard reset where men actually start acting like men because they have no choice, because now they have to get in this position to defend. And all these little backdoorings, all of them, I said, build them, give them a fucking island, build up, and let them go stay there. Let them run their own country. And let's see how long they last. Which they won't. They'll die out because they won't be procreating. Or eventually they're going to slip up and get tired of it, and men going to start getting tired of backdooring each other, and they're going to want some women. But they'll die out because they won't have any kids. But hey, that's all I got. I'm honestly, I'm just tired of this cancel culture bull crap. So if you lasted this long, hopefully you did. Hey, just go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Like and comment video. Let me know. Tell me what you think about this whole men being able to go in women's bathrooms, and how this 13-year-old was treated by a school because he decided to talk about patriotism, and they didn't like it. But other than that, YouTube, I'm out of here.